The 2024 season at Kings Island is just around the corner, and the park has released its live entertainment and special events. Hello, everyone. Alongside Ryan Sir, I'm Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
So, Ryan, Kings Island fans have been waiting for months to find out, what are the shows? What are the events? They've released it. What do we got?
Well, this is definitely scaled back, but I would still consider it good news because I think the fear was far, far beyond what we ended up getting. But, without further ado, let's run down the shows and we'll kind of go back and forth as to our opinion of with the concept. Obviously, we haven't seen most of these shows, so well, let's talk about it. So the first one is going to be the new Fest House show, and that's Country Crossroads. That's going to be from May 25th until August 11th. This all-new show features a live country band and vocalists performing your favorite country hits of today and yesterday. So the Fest House is oddly hand in hand with country music shows. Remember, it had them for a long time, and then it kind of deviated after a while. But, I feel like the park does country shows very well, very consistently. So this should be good.
They do a good job with country shows, and I really like the fact that they have the live band with it. I think that really adds a lot to the show.
I agree. It's funny because I remember having the conversation right around the time Cedar Fair took over, and someone was telling me, man, shows used to have live bands, and I don't know why, but it made such a difference. And I was like, well, it's probably in your head, but I don't think it is. I think that
Now, the only downside here though is the Fest House. It's kind of difficult. You got the live show going on, everyone's eating at the tables, they're talking with their friends and their family and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of an odd place to have those kind of shows, but that's what they've done for a number of years.
I agree. I always felt like the Fest House was like one of the worst venues under almost all conditions, and it's worse. I don't know what's worse. If you actually want to watch the show, but you're in the middle of a cafeteria, or you don't really care about the show and you just want to converse with your friends, and you have this loud show going on. Because I've seen both sides of it, and I remember it being particularly trying when Tinker Soy Factory was in there, because I love that show. So I would have to it would be so crowded during
Yeah,
Winterfest.
I think it's a challenge if you're there specifically to watch the shows.
No, I agree. So, and especially because it's a lot of times every seat's taken up, because it's people eating and people that want to see the show.
And then walking, back and forth in front of the theater, that's always a little bit of a problem too if you're trying to watch a show and you're sitting at those tables nearby.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, I always used to laugh at people because they'd be looking for their friends or family or whatever, so they'd have a full tray of food standing directly in front of the stage, looking back and forth while the show's going on for their friends, and completely oblivious to the fact that they're blocking a show.
But it should be a good show. I love country music. They've always done country music shows well at Kings Island, and I like the mix of country hits of today and yesterday.
I do too. I'm looking forward to this. I think it'll be a really good show. Probably produced in house. Can't guarantee it, but those who produce country shows for Kings Island have in the past done a really good job. So this will be a good one. So the next one's a returning show. We got Retrospect. That's May 25th through August 11th. This high-intensity interactive song and dance production features a nonstop blend of favorite, current, and throwback party anthems. And that's going to be on the International Street Bandstand. So the Bandstand is a stage that is absolutely no fun until the sun goes down. Then you could not find a better stage than the Bandstand once the sun goes down.
Yeah, it's always been a great place for nighttime entertainment.
Yeah, and they used to try to split the baby and do like a SpongeBob. Oh God, I'm dating myself. But they would do like a kids thing, a Peanuts or SpongeBob thing on the stage during the day, and then have a show at night. I honestly, I'm glad that they're doing it the way that they're doing it, where they just don't do anything during the day, because again, that stage is terrible during the day. It's bright, the sun's in your eyes. It's so hot. I just hate it during the day, but at night, man, there are some nights when the energy is just so incredible with these shows, especially with Carnival and stuff. When they do that, that's just so cool. When they did like the whole effort with the lights and stuff, and now they have that whole like truss caging around it, so they can have actual theatrical lighting and stuff. So I really like Retrospect. I think that's a great show, and I'm glad that's coming back.
Show to, go get your blue ice cream and then come over to the bandstand, stand or sit down and just watch the show.
Yeah, I guess the only critique would be it would be cool if there was a good place to sit, because we can come up with places where you kind of can sit to watch it, but there's no real seating area. So
No,
I see an
no.
argument for that.
For years, I mean, just always just sit on the ground and watch it.
Right, but everybody else is standing. It's kind of like the fireworks, how like everyone's sitting and
Mhm.
then one person stands up, so everyone has to stand so they can see. Okay. Next up, new show, Trailblazers Extreme. That's June 29th through August 11th. So it's time for summer camp, and you haven't experienced one quite like this. Acrobats, aerialists, and extreme athletes come together for the ultimate campground adventure featuring extraordinary, high-flying feats of courage. Huh. So, this is a summer camp. Why is this a summer camp?
A lot of ways, it sounds like Off the Rails, just kind of renamed a little bit, different backstory, maybe.
Yeah, they probably cut out a lot of the cast too. Off the Rails was perfect for like a 50th anniversary show, and they essentially brought it back, just not mentioning the 50th last year. This one probably doesn't have the drummers and maybe the singers and the dancers and stuff like that. It's probably a little bit more budget friendly. But one thing that I did notice about this that kind of bothers me is that this theater is right in the middle of the park, and it's very open. And this leaves, so it's June 29th through August 11th. This is at the show place, by the way. This leaves the theater dark for most of the summer season. That can't be a good look.
No, it's not. Anytime you have a theater that's dark during your season, it's not a good look.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's better than not having a show, but it's just really strange. And I remember, yeah, obviously we're going through the merger and stuff, and that's going to play a factor in how much money's divvied out
Yeah.
and so on. But I remember in 2006 when the Cedar Fair merger took over, that was dark, and it was just very gaping. But all right, next up, June 15th through July 7th. This is a really short run. Gazillion Bubbles. This mind-blowing show combines the beauty of bubble artistry, the wonders of soapy science, and interactive musical fun for the whole family. With mesmerizing bubble magic, immersive lights and lasers, and high-energy music. It's a spellbinding experience for all ages. So,
I've seen this at Dollywood. It's a really good show, but the short run, that's the thing that drew my attention. It's only June 15th to July 7th. So what is that? What, 3 weeks
yeah, that's
that you get to see this show?
yeah, that's 3 weeks, and you know, I saw this guy at SeaWorld a long time ago, and so essentially, for those of you who haven't seen it, he does a lot of demonstrations with bubbles, which is fun when you watch it, but it's not like repeatable. You couldn't really see the show more than once. And then they have this part at the end where they spew a bunch of bubbles onto the crowd, and that's kind of cool. But I feel like you're sitting through like a lot just for that. But it'll be interesting to see what direction they go. I think that this is a compromise where they didn't want the theater to be dark, but at the same time, they didn't have a lot of money to.
No, but it's like we put it out there so they can, justify we had shows this year, but there's such a short run that the shows really don't get an opportunity to develop any kind of a following, especially, with the guests that really enjoy the live entertainment.
I agree. Now, it's kind of a monkey's paw situation where a lot of people in like the Kings Island sphere say like, I wish they would have like short run shows that like only run for a few weeks, and that's what they're getting. But I think that the implication that they have is they would have 4 or 5 of these during the summer. So it's like, every few weeks when you visit the park, you could see a different show in the theater, which I think would be.
Yeah, I think short run events that are there for 2 or 3 weeks, that works. Short run of shows that are there for a couple of weeks, not so
Yeah, it'll
much.
be interesting to see how this goes over because it's a darned if you do situation. Because if it doesn't, there's obviously the backlash of a bad show. I don't think it's the cool part is like if it doesn't go over, it's gone in 3 weeks, whatever, it's sunk.
Yeah. Well, all I'm gonna say is I enjoyed it at Dollywood, and I think during the 3 weeks that it's there, the guests that do experience the show, they're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that this does have a place, but at the same time, you know, it's 3 weeks. So if somebody sees it and then they come back at the end of August and it's already gone, they may have questions about that. But they are bringing back the fireworks. I think fireworks or we riot is kind of the theme with this. But the new show is actually called Under the Stars. It's May 24th through September 1st. As the sun goes down, the skies light up with Under the Stars, a Kings Island nighttime spectacular. Fireworks, hundreds of drones, and laser projections combine to celebrate the unforgettable memories from your Kings Island visit. So this seems like it has a lot of the same description as Adventure Awaits. But it's kind of cool they're doing it. I figured they would do Adventure Awaits again since they had an original song for it and everything. Uh, I mean, it would be weird. We're only going to run a show in the Kings Island Theater for 3 weeks, but we're going to have an original score for the night, the nighttime fireworks every year.
Now, I think what they're doing with the fireworks, incorporating the drones. I'm glad to see that those are back
Mm-hmm.
again. What's this now? The third consecutive year that they've had
That's right.
drones. I don't know that you can go, until the next thing that comes out outside of drones, but I think it really adds a lot, and it's a great way to cap off, your day at the park with the fireworks shows that they
Oh
do
yeah,
there.
they're stuck with drones until the next big thing. If they ever cut the drones, they would never hear the end of it. So when you're with your experience working at the park, I know you weren't really like at the guest services counter or anything, but on the nights when it was too windy or rainy for drones, was there a lot of feedback on like I thought there was going to be drones?
Now, when I mentioned that, if the drones didn't go that night because of, weather or for whatever other reason, a lot of times, you have guests at the park, they never have seen the drone show to begin
Mm-hmm.
with. All they know is the nighttime fireworks. So you're not there where they've been there long enough that everyone has seen the drones. Now, as they continue to do drone shows, then it becomes more noticeable when you don't have
See,
drones.
I understand that, and I can use an example of Luminous at Epcot. I saw that a couple months ago. I was in December. It was like the fifth day of the show where they didn't do the perimeter stuff because it was so windy that day. Like it was stupid windy. But I thought the show was great. And then I saw it again last weekend and it had the perimeter and I was like, whoa, how did I ever watch it without it? So I
Right.
understand that perspective.
It adds a lot, but you still have a lot of guests. They've never seen a drone show at Kings Island. So if it's not there one night because of the wind, um, you're not going to hear too much
Yeah,
about it.
well, my only thought is that it's in the advertisements
Mhm.
and park announcements and so on. But that's neither here nor there. I guess it's one of those things where nobody can really be to blame when the technology just isn't there yet. But moving along to special events. So we got this was in question, so I'm glad to see this. But Grand Carnival is returning July 20th through August 4th. Journey around the world, leaving Mason, Ohio at Kings Island's Grand Carnival. Guests will be immersed into the sights, sounds, and flavors of international cultures at this vibrant, larger-than-life celebration. Enjoy live music, cultural crafts, lively activities, authentic cuisine, and so much more. Take in the extravagant sights and sounds from the iconic Spectacle of Color Parade, this glittering sensory spectacular of lavish floats, interactive street performers, and pulsing rhythms is a must see. I agree with that statement. Um, as the parade concludes, thunderous music builds to a crescendo, and our king and queen kick off a high energy block party filled with animated entertainers, spirited dancing, scrumptious eats, and so much more. Grand Carnival is an international festival with fun for everyone. I'm glad because King's Dominion announced it was coming back a few weeks ago, but Carowinds does not have it on their list of events. So that meant it was not guaranteed for Kings Island.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm glad to see it come back, and it's you could almost say now that it's a tradition. You do see some parks that you can count on having certain events. When you buy or renew your season pass in the fall, And this is one that I think it has some legs to be able to stick around for the long term.
Yeah, it is a big commitment, and obviously the nature of it has changed quite a bit. So to run you through the various years, the first year of it, which was 2019, I think, was one of the best experiences you could possibly have at Kings Island, where they had performers for every country and so on, where big budget event. And then the second year, they kind of took all the entertainment and put it on the bandstand, which at the time made sense because the entertainment in the China section was very popular, but they had Indians beating on drums and stuff, and no one was watching it. That was in the Tower Gardens. And then they had a like a polka kind of band in near the Fest House for Germany. No one was watching that. So it made sense just to like, why would we do all this if only one's popular? But recently last year it was, the opening ceremony was later, immediately followed by the parade. None of the characters mingled like they used to. And then the closing ceremony, the closing part, the kiss goodnight, was always my favorite part because the band on the bandstand would always perform the Carnival song, and they'd have all of the characters up there and they'd dance along with it and stuff. And I thought that was like just a really cool moment. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case last year. All the performers got sent home immediately after the parade. The band still sang the song. Great band. We love you guys. It just wasn't the same. I'm sorry. But I imagine 2024 is going to look a lot more like 2023 than it will like 2019.
Now they've got other events listed on their website. They call them events. Season Pass Preview, April 19th. Opening Day, April 20th. Soak City opening weekend, May 25th, 26th. Now, Ryan, it's kind of a gray area. Do you call these events in your mind or just dates on the calendar?
So, I don't know. It depends. Season Pass Preview I would consider an event because that's something that
Agreed.
was a surprise. It was not announced. It typically comes, but it's typically announced later. So I would consider that an event. Water park opening, no, because it opens Memorial Day weekend. We get it. Halloween Haunt and Winterfest, probably not anymore. Because it's just part of the calendar now. So no, I think it's a lot of filler for the events because it's a very event light kind of year this year.
And now look at opening day, okay, April 20th for everybody.
Yeah. What are you doing
Is there
different?
anything?
How's that different from any other
Yeah,
operating
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like April 27th, you go to the next Saturday. Do same experience either weekend, right? So if it was me, and you're trying to build it as an event, why not on opening day have something, special going on? Maybe even have an opening day parade. Why not? Just to really kick off the season in grand fashion with something like that. Other than, hey, it's opening day, come on in, and it's no different than any other operating day,
What
really.
they need to do is have some sort of tradition for opening day, maybe a parade, but make it so it's noteworthy and there's something unique and different about it every year. So they can get that news story out of like, oh, this year's opening day parade at Kings Island is going to have this theme or whatever. So that reminds people that the park is opening. But
Yeah, and in past years, you used to have the big new attraction always
right,
open on opening day. That was what everybody went for. But recently, that's not been the case. You've had rides opening, in May, or you've had them open. Last year, Ventureport opened in June. Who knows when Camp Snoopy's going to
right.
open? So you don't have that tie-in. So for me to make opening day special, what are you doing other than just opening your gates?
Yeah, so here's the thing that kind of the funny memory that popped in my head. So back when I ran KIC, the good old days. I don't know if they still have it or not, but there was a calendar that was kind of built into the forums, and I remember thinking like, so this was like early in the year. This was like June, and I was like, oh, I've got an idea. I'll put in all the haunt days on the calendar, so if anyone looks at it, they can be like, oh, haunt opens on September 23rd or whatever. And then, well, initially it was just the haunt opening day, and then it was, like, I'll just put all the days because there's only like 8 of them, or a month and a half worth or whatever. Well, October rolls around, and it was said upcoming events: Saturday Halloween haunt, Sunday Halloween haunt, Saturday Halloween haunt, Sunday Halloween haunt, and that's kind of the thing that popped in mind when you mentioned opening day, because opening day is the first day of the season, and that's cool, but it's just another operating day, you know.
Yeah, so to me, I would do something to try to make it special and just a reason to come that day. Now, let's talk about one event that we didn't mention was July 4th. They have a fireworks celebration. That's always a different type of fireworks show than they have any other time during the year. Uh, they're extended. Normally it's maybe a 20-minute type of
Mhm.
show. So that's always something you want to mark your calendar for because it's not just another night of fireworks at Kings Island. I mean, it's spectacular.
Yeah, so the 2022, that when they did Fun Fireworks in 50, they just did the normal show, which I thought it would have been cool if they just tagged on the end like they do with like Epcot, where it's like, here's our extension, and then they just shoot off a bunch of fireworks to make it different, but they didn't. But last year they did their own. They didn't do Adventure Awaits at all. They did a unique show, and the show was freaking brilliant. That was one of my favorite fireworks shows at Kings Island. I remember with the drones, they made the United States, they made an American flag. Just everything came together really well. So it was a fantastic show, and I don't think they'll do the same show, because to give them credit, they seem to do unique stuff quite often. But knowing the talents that are behind some of these things, it's going to be a great show.
Now, Ryan, one of the things that I've seen, KI Central, the season pass Facebook group, other places where Kings Island fans chat, is they bring up that there's nothing new for guest experience this year in terms of
Mm-hmm.
events. What are your thoughts? Are you disappointed or do you understand?
I understand from the business perspective of, especially new events with the startup costs are very expensive. If this were a normal year and we weren't about to go through a merger and so on, I would be pretty disappointed. In fact, I would go as far as saying that it would be unacceptable. I think that a lot of the benign stuff that's going on, where it's Carnival again, it's opening day again, and stuff, that that may hurt ultimately. And Kings Island has no problem packing people in, because if they can't sell a ticket, they sell a season pass. But you talk about your mix. They talked about on their own quarterly conference call. It's like it was a drop in per capita spending because of changes in guest mix, which essentially tells me too many season pass holders. Well, if no one's buying a ticket to see their event, if no one buys a ticket to go to Robbie Knievel Day, if there's other enticing things out there where I can bring my team from work or whatever, that's the kind of outcome you're going to have. So
Mm-hmm.
I think from a business perspective, it's bad. It's a bit disappointing, but at the same time, like, this is the reality of what we're in right now. So I'm not casting any blame whatsoever.
No, and as you look at the show runs, the length of them, and some different things are the same events being rolled out. We are talking about, the proposed merger, is there. Uh, Everybody likes to throw out the term, budget
Hmm.
cuts all the time about what they're doing. This is not something that Kings Island wants to do. It's not the product they want to deliver, for their guests, being watered down like this. It's coming from above. So, don't blame Kings Island if there's something there that, you'd like to see, a little bit, more in depth, a longer show run, more shows or more special events, that kind of a thing. That's not something they have any control of. They're being told to cut this, cut that, and that's what they have to do just because of what's looming on the horizon.
Exactly. The purse of money coming in is much less, and I don't see it getting any better, throughout the season, obviously. But you're right. And let me ask you this, Don. And I don't remember if we've ever had this conversation off camera or on, but one thing I noticed is in the early season, it used to be that the Fest House show and the kids show opened with the park, or early on in Cedar Fair's days. And nowadays it seems like it's either one show or it's none until like Memorial Day, and that's pre any of this merger stuff. But I've noticed that if you're in May or so, early May, late April, you're at the park, it starts raining, all the rides shut down. There's really nothing to do. I mean, you can eat or you can shop, but I mean, I'm not buying a ticket to eat or shop, so I do you think that from a guest satisfaction standpoint, even people that don't necessarily seek out shows, this could affect their perspective of the park, or their visit to the park when the runs are
Yeah,
shorter?
yeah, yeah. The value that you're being given for what's available for you to do. You're right. If it does rain and you can't ride rides, what are you going to do? If that's the case when you don't have shows April, May, or really any day that one of the theaters is dark. You mentioned kid shows. Where are the kid shows? I don't see one on here.
Oh, we're not doing kid shows. We're doing Camp Snoopy instead. I guess I never really thought about that. You're right. There is no kid show, and they just renovated that theater too. I'm surprised they didn't put the meet and greet experience as one of the shows, which imply maybe that's not coming back. I never thought about that.
Yeah, so that's just something that to me it's missing, and I think that the parents will notice that there's not a Peanuts kid show. They might have the characters out at Camp Snoopy. Still not the same thing as having a kid show because parents and the kids they love the Peanut shows.
Yeah, one thing that I don't think that a lot of people understand is the perception's reality in the service business, and that's the business that they're in, regardless of how you split the hair. And something like if it's early August, the bubble show's closed, they've already seen the new off the rails, whatever they call it now, or it's already closed or whatever. If it's a hot day and the lines are long and there's nothing else to do but wait in line, do you think these people are going to want to come back? And it's not even going to be necessarily like there were no shows, so I did not have a good experience. It's going to be I went there, it was hot, there were lines, and there's nothing to do. That's how they're going to see it. And then the other thing is something like with the fun pick stuff. Everybody is always looking for the gotcha thing. They already have your money, so they're trying to screw you. And it's often true, I have to admit. But one thing that I noticed, and I overheard some parents saying this, was with the fun pick stuff. They station a person in front of the Kings Island sign for like an hour or two in the morning to take your picture, and then after that you can never find them anymore. And like in the description it says, oh, there's going to be photographers around the park and so on. But I remember they had, I think it was Woodstock that was out, and the parent was trying to get a picture with their kids, and like they wanted to get their whole family, and I was like, let me take your picture for you so they could all be in it. And the woman's like, yeah, I bought the fun pics thing and they're supposed to have photographers everywhere, but I guess they just don't do that anymore. So I mean, they got your money, so I don't think that that's the intention, but I think that the perception thing is very, very strong with that sort
Yeah.
of thing, you know
Yeah. Now let me bring something else up about the
yeah,
shows. All right, let's be honest here. There's a very small number of the guests that come just for that and buy
right.
their pass just for that, right? So when you're looking at where can we cut, one of the first things you think about is entertainment.
Mhm.
Well, let's only run it for 3 weeks instead of 9 weeks. Just different things like that. It's an easy cut on paper when you're sitting in the C-suite. Um, but the shows are added value,
Yes.
and I think that gets missed.
Yeah.
What about the parents, or the mom that goes to the park with the teens? They're off, riding the roller coasters. Mom's not going to do that. What is there for her to do? Why would she want to buy a season pass? Is she just supposed to eat all day? I mean, what is there for
She
her
can
to do
shop.
for that value? Exactly. So I know, my mom was not a ride
Hmm.
person, but when we would go to Kings Island in the 70s, or she would come with me in the 80s, there was entertainment around every corner. She had a great day. She didn't have to ride a single ride, but there were shows in Showplace, shows in the Fest House, there were shows in the theater. Just everywhere you went, they had different little short, little stages in
Yeah.
Rivertown, and that where they had shows. So there was
Hmm.
something going on all the time, just everywhere you went. No, she wasn't going to buy it. Nobody was buying a ticket to see those shows, but it was that added value. So when she paid for her ticket to go with me, she still felt she had a good time. Without the shows, all these dark days that they're going to have, what about the non-ride person? Water park might not be open yet, or they're not a water park person. What are they going to do? Where is the value for them if there's not that entertainment? So I think that gets missed a
Hmm.
lot. is, they do these surveys and the guest surveys. Nobody's putting, why they came for the shows or anything like that. So they don't see that being listed. So it seems like an easy cut, but it's not. And this is where, I think my um, time as a pass holder, where I was there all the time, and seeing what the shows meant to a lot of guests and just seeing that value that it delivered. That when you're not in the park, you're not there as a guest all the time. You don't understand, what your guests really enjoy and, how their day is spent and those kind of things. So I think that gets missed
Do you
too.
think that there's anybody outside of the C-suite or the corporate office that thinks that this is like a really good idea? I don't think anybody on any park level would think that this is a good idea.
Well, they don't think it's a good idea, but it's in the, it's when you're looking at where do we cut, it's probably the
Well,
easiest
right,
thing.
right, but I'm saying like when the general manager, the entertainment manager, stuff, people like that, they know, they get it.
They know.
They're
They get
getting
it.
it,
They know.
and these shows are expensive to run. Even the most simple, basic show, tens
Yeah.
of thousands of dollars for the season.
But what brings guests back year after year? A lot of times it's the little things, the added
Hmm.
value.
Well, and
The little
my
touches.
fear,
You talked about fun pics, like where's the fun, the people roving around taking pictures, just little things like that. Um, the little things, mean the most at the end of the day when it comes. Are you renewing your
right?
pass, or, the value that you got? How did you spend your day? Did you feel it was a full day's
Yep,
experience?
absolutely. And then a good example would be Dollywood. Dollywood has plenty of shows where it's like, oh, a couple banjo players on the front steps of this store or whatever, and nobody buys a ticket to see that.
But it adds
Nobody
value.
stays for the whole show, but it adds to the environment. It adds value. It's even if you don't get to ride anything or don't ride anything, you feel like you got to do stuff that day. So I think that it's something that's going to be sorely missed. I think it's a necessity rather than a desire. Um, but it's a transition period, and hopefully brighter days are ahead of us. Don, you want to move on to the listener questions?
Listener questions. All right. Number one comes from Elijah Smith. They say, "Hey, Tower Topics. I have a listener question. What era of Kings Island did you enjoy the most? Taft, Paramount, or Cedar Fair years? With the potential upcoming merger with Six Flags, what could be done for that to surpass your most enjoyable era?" Ryan, you go first. It's a great
Okay,
question.
so you and I are going to have very different answers because we're very different ages. Um, I first visited the park under, I think, Linder, and then Paramount, and then Cedar Fair, and then obviously, as soon as this year, it might be the Six Flags era of Kings Island. But okay, some of all parts, definitely Cedar Fair. Cedar Fair brought back the park to what it's supposed to be. It didn't try to form like a square peg into a round hole like Paramount did and stuff. And with that being said, there's a lot of stuff that Paramount did that was kind of cool. Like their rides were, when they added like Italian Job and stuff like that, it was kind of like, well, how's this really going to turn out? Like we figured out the game pretty quickly. But they did things like, remember the Tomb Raider stunt show? Like I was trying to find footage of that a couple weeks ago. If we can find it, we should do an episode on it. But that was awesome. Like their limited run stuff was really, really cool and innovative and high budget. But if I had to choose like an era, I would say like we met era Cedar Fair, 2014 until 2020 ish. What about you?
Taft. And the reason I picked them, I mean, Cedar Fair's done a lot of great things, but during the Taft years, the park looked immaculate. I mean, landscaping, just that attention to detail. Back then, if somebody came through, say like the racer, and on one of the columns in the queues, and they wrote "Bobby was here," next day that was painted over or
And Bobby
washed
was
off.
dead.
You know, so just that attention to detail with the landscaping. Entertainment was a focal point. The Showplace Theater, for instance, the pop show would always start at the beginning of the
Hmm.
season. The country show would run, Memorial Day to Labor Day. They had two different shows going on in that theater. In the early part of the day it was the pop show. The nighttime it was the country show. Both had live bands. You had the live entertainment all over the park. I keep going back to the landscaping, just how beautiful everything looked. I mean, it looks great now. The landscapers do a great job and stuff. But just back then, it was every little thing. The associates, the outfits, the costumes, uniforms, whatever word you want to use for that. The different themed area they dress to that. So Oktoberfest, the associates there had uniforms a certain way, Coney Mall a certain way, Rivertown a certain look. Just little touches like that really added to the experience.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't that I've only read about, and obviously I can't speak from experience, but what the younger generation does not understand was there was very little besides geography distinguishing Kings Island from Disneyland in 1972 when the park opened. They were very similar in quality, you know.
Yeah, that's once you get away from a lot of that stuff and you started to see some of that, the Linder years, the Paramount years, those little touches, um, where maybe landscaping wasn't going to have the same budget, the entertainment budgets got slashed. It's hard to bring all that back. But I will say during the Cedar Fair years, especially the last, from the time Matt we met kind of came in, the park is as good as it has been in terms of how it looks. It's as close to being the Taft years as it's ever been.
Yep, I think that whole thing started with the International Street renovation. I know that was controversial, but I think that was when the shift became, let's make the park look good. All right, great. Well, thanks for the question. Our next one's from Jim Flugel. As a dining plan becomes more popular with pass holders, many have discussed interest on social media sites in adding a snack option in lieu of full meal. Would you think Kings Island would implement this type of option? What do you think, Don? Was that ever discussed to your knowledge?
I mean, it'd be ideal, if you had a dining plan that you could get the snacks and that, but you can't have everything on it. I think you have to kind of simplify it a little bit.
I agree. I'm surprised that they don't have, because they have the thing for drinks now that's like Drink Plan Plus or something where you can get like slushies or whatever. And like, I'm kind of interested because I'm a coffee drinker now and all, but I'll probably just get the normal drink plan. But I would spend an extra, $30 or something to be able to get a pretzel in between my two meals or something like that. Like, I wouldn't mind that. They'd have to crunch out the numbers. Six Flags made it work. Um,
Oh yeah. I mean, I think down the line, you're probably going to see that, but I think short term, I don't know that would be something that's going to be added in the next year or
I
two.
agree. And my other concern is, if you can get a pretzel in lieu of a meal, there's eventually going to be a bean counter that's like, a hamburger and tater tots, that's not a meal. A pretzel's a meal. That doesn't count for that. You got to, again, there's that monkey's paw. Be careful what you wish for because you might just get it. But yeah, I would like to have an add-on option where you can do snacks. That'd be kind of nice. Next question, and this one's from JC Evans. What roller coaster do you think will be the next one to be removed?
For me, I don't want to speculate on what roller coaster I think might be removed next. Ryan, as soon as you or I pick one, that's going to be the rumor mill that they heard it on Tower Topics. And I don't want to go there with that. I think any of the coasters there, I think it would come down to, is it difficult to get parts? Has it reached the end of its service life? I think they're all right now. You look at them, there's not one that, you'd have to say is on the chopping block.
No. There are some that I feared for. Like the Bat, I really feared for a while because it was down for a long time. But they're not going to put that effort into fixing it if if they plan on tearing it down. So I don't know for sure, but to me, the effort that they put into that ride implies to me that they have absolutely every intention of keeping that thing around as long as possible, which I'm super happy about because I love that ride.
Yeah, I don't like looking at things like that, like, oh, I wonder which one's going to be next. I just go into it with, while it's here, enjoy it because you never know with any
That's
of
true.
them.
Next question is from Josh. Hey, Don, looking back at your Kings Island career, is there anything that if you had to do it all over again, you would change?
My Kings Island career, I'm happy and content with the career I had at Kings Island. I don't think there's anything I'd really change. And a lot of success stories there. So, no, I'd have to say I just, would do it all again the same way I
Yeah,
did it.
and it's a difficult question to answer because I'm sure that we could pull out, the project that you did with the Robbie Knievel thing, and it's like in hindsight, yeah, there's probably some things here and there that you could think of, but the weight of this question seems like there's something pivotal that you feel like you could change, but it's especially now that you're out, it's very difficult to
No,
narrow
I
down
mean, it was a
something.
17 seasons. I mean, it was a great run, and no regrets with it. Just a lot of just really great experiences. Worked with a lot of great people. I don't know where I'd go back and say, oh, that I should have done it this way or done it that way, or wish I'd had that opportunity, or not, or anything like that. Everything, was great. I'm also one of those people that I don't like to look back because I think when you do that, something might be gaining on you.
Yeah.
I think you always just look ahead.
Well, and plus it's like if you're happy now, if you're in a good situation now, then all everything that happened led up to the position you're in now.
Yeah, I mean, you only have regrets if you feel that, you left something on the table or, you kind of didn't maximize, your abilities, those kind of things. So I think I got the most of what I had to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, thanks for the question, Josh. Hey, I'm Ryan Sirlong with On Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.